it's not that the secular transhumanists want too much, it's that they settle for too little. They're basically trying to get us back to the garden. The Catholic Church says, no, you are called to the supernatural.
Before we get to our clip, do us a favor and click subscribe and that bell button below. 2/3 of people who watch us regularly aren't yet subscribed, and it really supports the channel. When you do subscribe, it's free, costs nothing, and I really appreciate it.
Do you know any serious transhumanists who are working at top levels who are not atheists?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are some movements to present other versions of transhumanism. There's a Mormon transhumanist organization. There's a Christian transhumanist organization. I have met some transhumanist or transhumanist-friendly thinkers who are more agnostic and who appreciate more fully the real contributions of Christian thought, Judeo-Christian thought to society, and are much less dismissive of religion as just basically being a fairy tale. But it's also interesting because, well, the secularism is important, I think, because if there is no creator, then we are not creatures. Mm-hmm. And if we are not creatures, we're not part of this great story, right? We believe in a story of salvation history that has a clear beginning, that involves this drama of our lives, the drama to live virtue, the drama to live the faith, the drama to grow and prepare ourselves for heaven, the clear destiny, the clear goal. We have a storyline that we're part of, that we're actors in, because we know the author of the story. But if there is no creator, if there's no author, then I think it makes a lot of sense that we come to this notion of radical self-creation, because no one else can create the story except for me. And so we become the self-creators, and we're just all telling different stories that don't really have so much of an objective grounding or purpose. Now, back in the mid-50s, Julian Huxley, who is the first head of UNESCO, so basically the United Nations group for education, science, and culture. He's also the brother of Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World that you mentioned, which anticipates some of these themes of transhumanism. Julian Huxley, years ago in the mid-50s, wrote an essay where he used the term transhumanism in the sense that we understand it today, of radically enhancing humanity and advancing ourselves the evolutionary process. That's part of the account, that we are not the end of the evolutionary process. We're just one step along the way. And now we need to harness our technology to accelerate that process and maybe eventually make ourselves obsolete because we create something superior. But he was talking in these terms of radically enhancing, of going beyond our limits. So a lot of people go back to him as a kind of father of transhumanism. But I want to go back much further in history. I want to go back to Dante, the great Catholic poet. If you get to Paradiso, so his account of heaven, the last section of the Divine Comedy.
The least interesting part, in my estimation.
Well, hopefully the real heaven is much more interesting than maybe the poem presents it to be. But if you get to Paradiso, to heaven, in the very first canto, like the first section, Dante uses the term transhumanar, so transhumanize, right? To describe the saints, because they have gone beyond the limits of human nature. They are glorious and splendid, and they were able to do and act in ways that no human being could, left to his own devices. So they transcended the limits of human nature, and they were able to live the supernatural virtues and flourish and serve and praise the Lord.
Christ's glorified body walking through doors.
Yes.
All of this, I guess, will be retrospectively looked at as a prophecy. So the transhumanists can say, no, we want you as part of this story, Christians.
Yes.
You are the ones who prophesize this thing. Come alongside us and help us build this utopia together. Yeah,
I mean, maybe there will be more dialogue along those lines, but I always find it fascinating that transhumanar was already present.
Wow.
And so this is an ancient concept, right? It describes what our life is about. It's divine grace, 2 Peter 1:4 talks of how we have this participation in the divine nature through divine grace. So we are elevated, we are brought beyond our limits. I think in many ways that whether they're aware of it or not, the secular transhumanists of today are looking for the preternatural gifts. So the church speaks of preternatural gifts that Adam and Eve enjoyed. So the preternatural basically is that which perfects our human nature, but does not go beyond that nature. So there are kind of three main preternatural gifts that we can see in Adam and Eve. One would be the freedom from concupiscence. Another would be infused knowledge. And a third would be bodily immortality. And I think that in a strange way, in an unexpected way, the secular transhumanists are trying to get these preternatural gifts back, right? So infused knowledge. Think about all of the ways we can try to achieve cognitive enhancement. This freedom from concupiscence. Well, think about how much work is done in terms of mood enhancement to bring a greater harmony and peace and joy to kind of get us over all of this tension that we experience of anxiety and depression and sadness and so forth. And then, of course, bodily immortality. That's a really big deal for the secular transhumanists who speak of radical life extension. And as I mentioned, this idea of, in some cases, mapping out through whole brain emulation the data of our neurons to get the information that is us, to then download it and transfer it to other substrates and perhaps up to the network to live on forever. But in this life, it's still always an earthly form of immortality. So I often say that the problem with the secular transhumanist is not that they want too much and that the church has to come in and say, oh, just settle down. We could never get that. That's just a dream. Just be quiet and settle for this short little life of ours. It's not that the secular transhumanists want too much. It's that they settle for too little. They're basically trying to get us back to the garden, to the preternatural gifts. The Catholic Church says, no, you are called to the supernatural, transhumanar. The transhumanar of Dante is above and beyond. It's supernatural. And it is not something that we can ever engineer through science or technology. Like I said, there are many great and beautiful ways that science and technology could be used well to help us live more virtuously if we so choose. But there is nothing that will ever engineer or grant us the precious gift of divine grace and enable each and every person, even those who never achieve even a healthy physical state or a kind of healthy level of emotional life or a healthy kind of cognitive level, right? Even the outcast, if you will, of society can be baptized and can live a flourishing divine life and be prepared for true eternity, not just a quantitative extension of this life, but a qualitative elevation and leap forward above and beyond. That's what I want. I want the transhumanar of Dante more than the secular transhumanist extension of this life.